Hello everyone, this is Altar, and this segment is here to let you know that after about a year of producing content for Offworld Trading Company, Mohawk Games contracted me out to do some QA consulting work for them. This video was made during the time that contract was active. Thank you for listening. Please enjoy the video. Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 1 in our best of 3 series between Deathtacticus and Fluffy Bunny. Predictions generally go to Deathtacticus this time. I'm going to call Fluffy Bunny blackmagic because I don't know if I can continue saying Fluffy Bunny with a straight face.
I refuse to call him Fluffy Bunny.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we have offices this game, so power's looking a bit tempting. Steel, aluminum, iron, and glass all starting super expensive. So this is going to be weird. Like, this is a weird random prices for new players because, man, there have to be some of you out there if we have this many viewers. The random prices option is turned on in the tournament, and this has the potential to either half a resource cost or double it or leave it normal. And you can see that we have 4 resource cost halves. That's food, oxygen, silicon, and electronics, whereas 4 have been doubled: aluminum, iron, steel, and glass. This is particularly interesting because, of course, aluminum, steel, and glass are the most common upgrade resources. So upgrading might be quite expensive at the start of the game for these players, but then after they finish the first couple levels of upgrades, they might have a massive source of money that they can work with as they proceed through the game. Now, got some founds going on here.
Yep, we got DT has gone over to be a scavenger, which very, very good.
Yeah, no surprise there, especially in 1v1.
No, it's a good move, but I don't know. The price of steel there's some potential there to have a play with it.
The price of steel is fantastic. What Deathtacticus seems to be doing is he's trying to take advantage of this high aluminum price in particular. He actually went, you almost never see this, 2 aluminum mines at the start of the game. He's going for a third now, just trying to pull in all the cash he can. And 1 elemental quarry. Bought up the carbon he needed to upgrade. Now he's going into his second quarry. But relying on that aluminum to kind of kickstart his game. Whereas you can see that blackmagic over here, he doesn't quite even have the aluminum just yet. Or the steel. Steel's so expensive. Iron's so expensive. He's going to be just having to hold on, hope that he doesn't get frozen out before he can hit HQ level 2.
I think, yeah, if DT can get a freeze down onto blackmagic, that could be very, very interesting. But I don't know, he's gone into 4 aluminium.
That is kind of a lot, is how we would usually define that. What he may honestly be doing is sitting here going, my opponent can't really afford to use black market on me. I'm just going to develop enough aluminum for like the next 2 upgrades and then transition out of most of it. Like, he could get rid of these low tiles pretty easily and turn those into actual production. There it is, on the iron. Definitely love to see that. Most players would go for the steel. I think iron is the much better choice though with the EMP. Because
far better.
Yeah, far better. Because for new players, yeah, you want to hit the steel. Steel is really expensive and that's great. But the better option is if you just get rid of the iron, freeze that. It's all EMP'd. It's going to be EMP'd for quite some time still. Then he struggles to make steel, because steel, of course, requires that iron. The steel becomes very expensive, hard to use, and your opponent is suddenly struggling to proceed through the game, put down buildings, get upgrades, so on and so forth from there.
I'm not sure I like him going into that glass with only 2 steel there. That's...
You don't like... Yeah, the 2 steel is awkward, but I don't mind it much just because the iron did get frozen. And so that 3rd steel mill, it's basically sitting there doing nothing. I mean, you can see these steel mills are actively losing money right now. They're losing $6 a second on top of the almost $50 a second he's losing in debt at this moment because of this freeze onto this iron. So the 3rd steel mill, what does it do? At least the glass is making money.
That's true. But DT is...
He seems
potentially, yeah, he's got himself into the same situation we saw with Awins in the last game.
No. Look, his aluminum is worth twice as much as his carbon right now. Oh, no, never mind. Now his carbon's worth 50% more. Went from $1 to 3. Carbon just tripled in price. That's got to be worth something for DT.
Yeah, I think blackmagic is going to be... He's got all the water. So if he can hold on... So all he has to do is hold on, and he'll scrape through.
Yeah.
I see DT's going to have to rely on going through the ice condensers.
Yeah, ice condensers could be pretty crucial this game. Ice condensers, like very recently, Ice condensers have been gradually getting buffed through the entire game's history because I think most everybody in the community sat there going, ice condensers are so useless. Now ice condensers aren't useless. They actually generate a large amount of water these days. But of course, they only do that for 2/3 of the day.
Actually, there is a patch of water that I seem to have missed.
Yeah, there is a rather large patch of water down in the southeast corner.
Yeah.
To be fair, although I would actually be tempted to take ice condensers over that. Like, that is so far away from DT. I don't know if I actually want it. That fuel price.
I wouldn't be that keen, to be frank. It's a long way to ship it in.
Exactly. Both players taking a geotherm. That is, both geotherms gone off of this map. And as we pointed out earlier, offices at the neutral colony, those have been eating up power, and that's up to almost $240. Yeah, just rising by $1 to $2 a second right now. That's pretty insane.
Yeah, I can't see power coming down in the short term. I think somebody, may well have to make a power play.
A pair of geotherms definitely aren't going to do it, at least. Like, we do have mutinies available this game, so if these players are bold enough, neither of them has goon squatted their power. Instead, Deathtacticus has defended his electrolysis. And so I'm really curious to see if we're going to see a mutiny. Wind turbines coming down for Fluffy Bunny. I like that play. Good work up by blackmagic. Oh, yeah. Caught.
His EMP got caught.
EMP got caught by that goon squad. So now DT, he's sitting on an EMP.
Where's it going to go? That's not a bad place.
Yep, that's not bad. Now, the thing about this is, blackmagic, 40 seconds until he has access to the black market, but mutinies and dynamite are available, and unless DT buys another goon squad, blackmagic knows for a fact, because the current price of goon squads, that was DT's only goon squad. And so this geotherm, very open to being hit, whereas DT, he still doesn't know where the goon squad is from blackmagic. He doesn't know what's been defended. DT has purchased another goon squad at least, so all of this becomes slightly irrelevant. But DT basically forced to use his cooldown to do that.
I think it's a good move, especially given the price of power. And the fact that dynamite's on the map
exactly,
as well.
Dynamite.
It's a long trip out for that repair drone.
Oh, it's so long. Like, mutiny is tempting, but of course, if you mutiny something, your opponent can just mutiny it right back, unless you've got a goon squad underneath it. That dynamite, though. Ooh, there we are. Decent freeze. Auction unclaimed. That was a hacker array for an auction. Nobody wanted it.
It's a free claim at the end of the day.
Whatever, it's a free hacker array. It's 1v1. Take a hacker array when it gets thrown your way in a 1v1. Come on.
No, take it and burn it. Put something good down instead.
Take it. Look at your opponent's silicon, his one little low tile, laugh, and then hack silicon all day. Done. GG. You win. I've done this in multiplayer, in 4v4. Or, sorry, in 4-player games. Works brilliantly in 1v1.
Why has Fluffy Bunny taken that rubbishy little silicon when there's a one medium one right underneath its flight path?
Look, here's the thing, King Morgan. Here's the thing. Sometimes people make bad decisions.
Oh, well, yeah, I can relate to that.
That said, alright, both of them managed to upgrade their HQ almost simultaneously. Deathtacticus, he is on 5 though. Blackmagic still back on 4. Nobody's got food down. You guys are driving me crazy. Finally. Some farms land food up close to $300 right now. No big surprise, given that nobody really wanted it earlier in the game for some reason.
Yeah, that's good.
That is a lot of cash.
Ooh. I don't think I'd have put my condensers there. I think I'd have spread them around a little bit. He's obviously thinking...
No. You gotta get EMP'd on everything at once. It's just unfair to your opponent to spread things out.
And what's Black Magic? Couple of food over there. And all that iron.
Now,
he's...
It is worth pointing out, by the way, that EMPs are already pretty expensive. Like 10,000 a piece at this stage of the game. That's actually quite a big chunk of change. But apparently Blackmagic thinks it's worth it, and he's probably right.
Yeah.
I mean, 220 a second on these farms, that EMP is basically already paid for itself.
Oh yeah.
And just money taken away from your opponent.
And of course, it's extra money for that EMP to come back on him then.
Absolutely. Which it does, but the thing is, because Fluffy Bunny is a cheater and has spread his buildings out, he is a little bit more resistant to that EMP. It only hits half of his farms. So he's now getting to benefit from this high food price. Not a huge amount, but some, whereas his opponent currently is getting nothing off of it. And that's exactly where you want to be. You making money, your opponent not. That's the way you like to play the game.
Yeah, any little advantage is a good advantage.
Absolutely, and frankly, making like hundreds of dollars a second while your opponent isn't, that's a pretty big advantage in 1v1.
That's a massive advantage.
All right, so extra claim coming out on the auction. I expect 2024 here, but I don't know if... I doubt Blackmagic's going to push this too much higher. He can't really afford it. We haven't looked at debt a whole lot during these games.
Well, DT's leading the debt.
But,
He's
yeah.
on 50k at the moment.
Exactly.
And Fluffy Bunny is 80 nearly.
Yeah, post-auction, DT still has significantly less debt, and of course, his territory is also worth a lot more because he's upgraded his headquarters more, so the debt isn't hurting his bond rating as much, keeps his interest rates low, keeps access to the black market just at hand, no problems whatsoever with his bond rating so far this game. And these farms are finally coming back online.
Yep, and he's moved into an optimization center as well, which is
Not as good as a hacker
interesting-
array.
No, I mean, if hacker array with the price of food as it is, that would be very appealing.
Price of food, price of glass, price of steel.
Well, I'm surprised he hasn't moved into glass. Because he's
I'm
got
really
the silicon
not,
there.
Mostly because, I mean, it's just the one silicon tile, right? That's low silicon. That's not even enough to power 2 kilns. You need
Yeah,
2
but-
silicon to power 2 kilns.
It's $23 for silicon. Just buy it in.
I mean, it's not bad, but do you need to, like, open up a vulnerability when you've just got access to these fantastic water resources? Do you need to do anything like that?
Probably not. But I would have anyway.
Yeah, fair enough. Food upgrades coming out of DT, definitely like to see that, given that food is just in a fantastic position right now. And he is finally going to go ahead and get aggressive against Blackmagic stock. I actually don't think there's anything Blackmagic can do about this.
No, I think you're right. I mean, DT's making what, 1,000, 1,300 a second off his food.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Ridiculous amount of money off of his food right now. And Blackmagic, yeah, he's got food income coming in as well, but it's not as good because he hasn't optimized it yet. And DT has got that optimization down, which increases his food production by 25%. It's very, very nice.
Yes,
And
that slight
he just doesn't have
advantage
it.
is...
On top of that, I mean, Blackmagic was doing, this whole time, he was like constructing buildings, which wasn't saving his steel money so he could buy his own stock. He put himself into a bit of a precarious position. I think he may actually live. I think he's going to live. But DT was very close to just finishing him off right now. And even coming out of this, DT just sits at a massive advantage, holding half of his opponent's stock. And this is assuming that Blackmagic can finish purchasing that 5th stock before DT gets to it and finishes his majority buyout.
He's 17, so I know the computer says he's got 17k, but he hasn't. He's only probably got 14. Blackmagic has got 24, so realistically he's got 20. So yeah, you're right. Blackmagic should survive.
He should survive, especially because DT is going for these extra optimizations, which is spending, like, he could cancel his optimizations and have 60 extra chems on hand, but I don't think it quite lets him finish the buyout. So his way is a little bit better. There we go. Blackmagic, he secured himself, and DT immediately starts selling. He wants all that money back. He's going to take it back, and I imagine we're going to see an Offworld pretty fast here. There it is.
Yeah, buy that stock now. He's got a spare one he can buy.
DT's still in a fantastic position. Yeah, he does have spare money. For some reason, he's continuing to sell out.
I think he wants 2.
He may just want 2 Offworlds, which unnecessary but understandable. Just, you've got a lead, just build more of a lead. That's fine.
Sledgehammer walnuts. He could do it with 1.
He could.
He's got Blackmagic on the ropes. I think Blackmagic suffered because he didn't get his steel. He didn't have optimized or decent amount of steel at the beginning, and now he's paying for it.
Absolutely. Like, I do think that steel production, like the initial EMP onto the metal mines, like that just slowed him down so much. It's hard to know what you do from there. I do like this move from Blackmagic. This is really his only chance, is hope that DT screws up, doesn't secure enough of his own stock and blackmagic just sneaks in a majority buy. It's not going to happen, but I think it's his only chance.
I think you're right. The longer it goes, the better DT's odds become.
Yeah, I mean, blackmagic is just in a position where he basically either finishes the game now or loses. With this optimization center having been running, it's stopped at the moment. It's not being used right now, which let's go ahead and check and see. Yeah, he actually just stopped at that water upgrade, and then ooh. That's the danger of two Offworlds in some ways. Gotta defend them both. But Dynamite lands. DT actually chooses to repair it. See, this is why I don't like the double Offworld. Look at how much money he's spending repairing this. How much time.
Yes.
It's insane. And then now his optimization center is running again, so he's going to get more food optimizations. Which is fine, given that he's gone Offworld. Food is very valuable Offworld.
Yes, it is.
I mean, it's very valuable Offworld, let's be honest. But DT, he's secured himself against the majority buyout. And realistically, two Offworlds, even getting blown up, like one of them getting blown up all the time, okay, that's still one active Offworld against your opponent's no active Offworld. And I still think blackmagic, he's going to end up falling out of this one. I'm going to actually get the title changed in the broadcast while we sit here and wait for this virtual reality to clean up, because we still show it as A-Wins versus Sir Rogers, and we gotta change that.
Yeah, we gotta let everybody know that it's actually Fluffy Bunny. Ugh,
absolutely, it is Fluffy Bunny. It's exactly what we want to see, right? I just typed blackmagic versus Fluffy Bunny. That's not accurate at all. Look at you distracting me.
Oh, there's the patent lab. Sorry, the pleasure dome. You're not having one of those, he says.
Nah, but he got virtual reality. It was worth it. Now it's making $0. That's 50% more than zero. I'll have you know.
And he blows. He must have just. There's a goon squad on that. He must have just blown it before the goon squad went on it.
Yeah, it must have just sneaked by. But I mean, all this dynamite's just being turned back around on blackmagic's buildings. Blackmagic, he has the cash advantage at this point. I gotta give that to him.
He does.
He's got that cash advantage. It's always nice to see. I'm actually gonna put this down a bit.
Yeah, I would give up my cash advantage for two Offworlds to 0.
Yeah, that's the big thing, right? It's still two Offworlds to 0. And now for new players, let's just cover this real quick. The Offworld market is extremely expensive. It costs a scavenger $800 worth of resources. Right now, to purchase one for DT, it would cost him $120,000 to buy an Offworld market. If Fluffy Bunny, aka Blackmagic, were to purchase one, it would cost him, because he is an expansive player and he cheats, it would cost him $66,000, $60,000 to $66,000 right now to buy one. But so, even if he had $120,000, if Fluffy Bunny had $120,000, he would still just be starting an Offworld market. And each Offworld market, it takes 1 minute to build and then 1 minute to launch, minimum. So it costs 2 minutes of time and tens of thousands of dollars worth of resources. He finally built one. That's good.
He did.
He caught a mutiny. He caught a mutiny.
Yep.
It's working it back up. But as we can see, DT, he's still sitting on $106,000 worth of cash. Blackmagic back at $41,000. But with just the one Offworld, this is where one Offworld may be stronger than two.
Yeah, but you see, DT missed a big trick there, and he should have bought a dynamite, mutiny, or attempted to mutiny. He's got a spy on it as well, so
there's really no excuse.
Well, he's got a 30-second cooldown being a scavenger.
Yeah.
Well, he blasts away. Oh, there we go. He's decided a mutiny, so you got at least 30 seconds of mutiny there.
Yeah, that's pretty strong, that mutiny. You mutinied here. It's going to last for another 108 seconds. I really would have liked to see, like, virtual reality is great. Unfortunately for DT, or unfortunately for Blackmagic, I really hate this Fluffy Bunny name instead. Unfortunately for Blackmagic, he has not pushed to thinking machines yet. He's tried, but his patent lab has been shut down consistently, so he hasn't been able to finish up thinking machines. What thinking machines would do is it would protect Blackmagic's one Offworld from these black market effects that are being targeted at it. The mutiny would only last for 50 seconds. It would be easier to repair from dynamite. Freezes from EMPs wouldn't last as long, but he hasn't managed to finish up that thinking machine's patent yet. And so he's just not quite in that position. 10 seconds left until that finishes up, it looks like.
It's showing 28 seconds.
It just keeps changing its mind. Actually, no, DT is going for it. DT picks it up. DT picks up Thingy Machines instead first. He manages to get to it.
Oh dear.
That's really bad. That is really bad for blackmagic. So now we're in a position, blackmagic has basically no advantages because Offworld's been stolen, so DT's running on 3. DT has almost all of his own stock secured. DT has 3 of blackmagic stock secured. And suddenly, like Deathtacticus, he has been trying so hard. Blackmagic has been trying so hard to hold on to this game. But DT just keeps cutting him off. Every single edge that blackmagic tries to take, DT just finds a way to say, no, that's my edge instead. And that does mean that blackmagic, he identifies he's lost the game. He's going to concede it. DT takes game 1 in our best of 3 series. We could take a more detailed look at that if we want to, but I kind of just want to hop into game 2. All right, game number 2. Between blackmagic, aka Fluffy Bunny, and Deathtacticus. Water expensive, chems expensive, glass expensive, and electronics expensive this time around. That makes things interesting. Worth noting that it's warehouses at the colony.
Oh, yeah, you want to be near some silicon then, really?
Yeah, there are some nice silicon plots, but it's worth noting that, like carbon, there's no medium or high carbon on the map, so scavenger becomes less viable automatically. And then all the iron, there's no good adjacency on iron. This is just a ridiculous map, so silicon is kind of what you want for glass. But the carbon near it isn't good, and then the iron is very far away from it, and that isn't even all that good either. What on earth do you do with this map? Well, DT's made a decision.
Yeah.
Water pumps, I like it. That's what you do. You're just like, man, water's expensive, forget upgrade resources. I'm just gonna make some money. So that's gonna be a very, very nice, quick boost of cash on over to DT, who should be able to push to his upgrade based off of that fairly quickly. See, he's almost got it already, only about $700 away.
Oh, they're both down here. Ooh.
Yeah, they're both down in our corner here. Let's see. But actually, DT, he's got most of the purchasing done he needs. DT actually needs aluminum. Blackmagic just needs a hair more steel. Both of them bought up a large amount of steel, just pushed that price very, very high very quickly. Wow, that was
simultaneous.
That was almost simultaneous. Now, I will say, the robotic player expects to stay ahead of the expansive player going forward in upgrades. Robotic upgrades are cheaper, and they take electronics instead of glass. They take half the aluminum of other colonies to upgrade, and they only take half the number of electronics as opposed to the number of glass that other colonies need. So DT, he's going to need 40 glass and 160 aluminum and 160 steel to upgrade. Whereas Fluffy Bunny, aka Blackmagic, he's going to only need 80 aluminum, 20 electronics, and then the 160 steel. So much, much easier for Blackmagic to push to that upgrade than it is for DT. And I love this move out of Blackmagic. You see this aluminum price that's going on? Very, very good decision out of here. So what's happened is Blackmagic has purchased a large amount of aluminum because he is producing aluminum, and he knows that DT needs that aluminum in order to upgrade. So Blackmagic buys a lot of aluminum. That brings the price very, very high on aluminum, and he knows that DT does not have strong aluminum production yet. The metal mine has only just now come online for DT, and it's only making 1 aluminum a second. So DT, he's going to have to buy some aluminum almost certainly in order to get to his upgrade quickly, and Blackmagic has just made that very difficult on him by raising that price so high.
Yeah, DT's just had his aluminium nuked.
I like it. That's why it's only 1 per second. Nuke, bringing that down from a high aluminum that produces 2 a second to a low aluminum, which only produces 1 a second. Definitely worth paying attention to. Underground nukes this game. That's also a good reason to have avoided Scavenger, as underground nukes are very, very effective against a Scavenger's carbon, which is the resource that they need instead of steel.
That's right. You don't usually get a lot of decent carbon. Not usually on the map, so very, very vulnerable to taking it down. And both of these players have been very sensible in distributing their claims and their buildings in sensible places so they don't get hit by, well, not all hit in the same place by any black market effects.
Yeah, that's actually very important because a lot of players, especially if they were coming from Quillstream, he was playing robotic early on, so they may know that you get bonuses for grouping your buildings together. And even the steel mill gets bonuses for being next to the iron mine. But blackmagic elected not to do that, so that when an EMP hits, or any tools like that, an EMP or a power surge, which isn't available this game, when those land, they aren't going to be as effective. They aren't going to knock out all of his production, instead only knocking out half, and DT has the same thing going on over in his corner.
And he's running a mule. All right, Deathtacticus running a mule there to pick up some extra aluminum.
I actually like that, especially because your opponents will kind of ignore mules a lot of the time, so they may think they have a stronger position in a market than they actually do, because you've got that mule out for you, pulling in the resources that you need. So it's kind of a nice way to work around the things that blackmagic was doing to try and keep that aluminum price high.
It's cost effective as well, because he'll only have paid 3,000 for his mule, but he's going to get 200 aluminium for it, so very cost effective way.
So we said the robotic player expects to stay ahead in upgrades relative to the expansive player, but what happened here is this is why you have to be careful building geotherms. Fluffy Bunny, we'll just call him Fluffy Bunny, screw it. He has built a geothermal plant. This is a very expensive building, hugely expensive building, 120 steel, 40 aluminum. That's 160 resources total to build this geothermal plant. And so that slowed his upgrade down. But what it's done is it's given him good access to power. Power, very, very expensive. This keeps debt from getting out of control for Fluffy Bunny. And he is going to be just fine already on power. He should be covering most of his power costs, only leaking a very small amount of power. Deathtacticus is still leaking almost 2 power a second, as his geotherm is not yet online. He elected to go for the upgrade first instead.
But Deathtacticus obviously is going to have the advantage because he's an expansive HQ, so he only pays 60 steel for his geotherms.
Absolutely. Expansive headquarters, one of their benefits is they have half cost on the steel portion of their buildings. Very, very impactful for buildings like geothermal plants and all of the advanced buildings, especially the off-world market.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely shines there. It can be so hard sometimes to raise 400 steel in a rush.
All these water pumps, I'm worried about this. Water pumps are free to build, but those aren't making a huge amount of money at this point when you have something like food available. Up at $184 a piece.
Yeah, that's an odd. Why Fluffy Bunny has gone to steal that medium water there, I don't know.
I mean, I like it. You don't need that much water. You just take the medium away, say, hey, this is mine now. You can't have it. It's also just a tile next to his base, so it kind of makes positioning buildings potentially a little bit more awkward. There we are, electrolysis reactors. I like to see that. All right. Patent Lab auction. Patent Lab, of course, giving you access to patents, which are powerful tools that once you've acquired them, no one else can that game. Do all kinds of different crazy things. We'll talk about them if they come up across the course of this game, of course. So blackmagic is going to be the one to go ahead and pick that up for us here. Silicon shortage. We talked about how important silicon was going to be this game.
It's going to be vital, I think. I mean, look at the price. We're going to see very strong glass because of these warehouses by the colony, and everybody's going to be buying glass, hopefully because they want to go into some off-world markets.
Yeah, I do wonder if blackmagic, if he would potentially value teleportation this game in order to have easy access to silicon, or if he's going to even use this patent lab in the short term. Patent lab, very expensive to use, with chemicals starting at $160 a piece this game. Already up to almost $170.
It's going to be... any time you go for a patent lab in 1v1, it's a very big investment.
Definitely is. Deathtacticus, he's going to need to look at securing. There he goes. Goes ahead and grabs some more water pumps. I liked what Deathtacticus did here. So he produced a lot of water at his water pumps, then switched them into electrolysis reactors to consume that water. And this buffered him against his opponent potentially trying to drive up the price of water, because he had a sufficient stockpile that he could just go ahead and use that stockpile to power the electrolysis reactors until he got to his upgrade and established more water. Now that said, as soon as the water comes down, blackmagic, he just freezes it and then starts trying to trying to drive up the price on that himself before long, I imagine, once he has all his buildings secure.
Yeah, it's not a bad move. But...
well, I mean, farms and reactors. That's a lot of water consumption if you can get your opponent to be buying it up from you.
Yeah, when you consider to produce his food, he's going to be needing probably 3 water apiece.
Absolutely.
Each greenhouse farm obviously using 1 water, same as the reactors.
All right. Spy on the geotherm. There were some thoughts about stealing that away. It didn't happen. I think the other one might have been taken, though. Because what's happened, yes, it was in fact taken for quite some time. Power is very, very cheap again because both players have built 2 geothermal plants, flooding the market ridiculously at this point. But Fluffy Bunny was making money off of it for a short time.
Yeah.
Man, another EMP.
Because Fluffy Bunny is the robot, he is using power to transport any of his resources, whereas Deathtacticus is going to be using fuel.
Neither of which are particularly expensive at this point, to be fair, but...
Not at this point.
Water engine. Now, one of them won't be using either. The water engine is an interesting thing to spend 6,000 debt on when water costs 157 apiece, but it is worth pointing out that water engine will use either power or water at this point for Fluffy Bunny, for his freighters. It will not just automatically switch over to water, which is what it used to do, and man, that was awful.
Wasn't it always the cheapest?
No, it didn't used to always be the cheapest. It used to be, once you picked up water engine or cold fusion, you had to use water.
Oh.
It was so bad.
That's not how it was described.
All right, nuke onto Fluffy Bunny's water. That's a strong nuke. It turns that tile from a medium level to a trace level, so it takes it from a base 1.5 per second to a base 0.25 a second, removes 1.25 resources a second before adjacency bonuses from Fluffy Bunny's water production. Definitely a strong move when water is costing $100 a piece.
Of course, it's going to impact his all his life production resources.
These chemical refineries worry me.
They're not looking very good, are they?
It's also worth noting that the only patent that Fluffy Bunny has is from that auction. He has not actually used this patent lab yet. And I think he spent a chunk of change on it.
That's been sitting there since he acquired it at the auction.
Yeah, and that's super important to note because he was making money off of power for a while. He had managed to completely pay down his debt. So instead of having that patent lab, he could have just the amount of debt that he spent on it in cash. Cash on hand, which is so much better. $16,000 is what he lost, at least, by acquiring this patent lab that has done literally nothing for him all game.
And given the price of chemicals and the fact that he was producing chemicals, he should have just been lining up patents.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge mistake. I think that this is not functioning right now. Pick up carbon scrubbing, pick up teleportation, pick up thingy machines. I don't care. Get something.
Oh, just queue anything and everything up. Thank you very much. Just work at this. Oh, finally. Teleportation.
All right, teleportation. That's one of the things we were talking about. Gonna pick up teleportation, which allows him to, well, teleport resources. Go figure.
What? Yeah. I suppose the pirates, perhaps, but fuel, electricity for him at $1. All the geothermal.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing to look at, though. Yeah, it doesn't save a lot of money. It doesn't save a lot of money, let's put it that way. But if you look, he has literally 80 silicon flying through the sky that he could have in his pocket right now if he had teleportation. Silicon at $83 a piece. We're talking like, what, $5,000 that he's missing?
I think I'd be queuing thinking machines
More
first.
than that, but I don't even... Look, I can't do math. I'm on stream. I shouldn't be saying math words right now. But also just this carbon, he would get access to that faster. I think you're right that maybe other stuff is more valuable, like thinking machines.
Definitely.
But teleportation still, I don't think, a bad call, despite the low prices. And DT not looking in a good way right now. Having his water frozen constantly has really left DT dead in the water, as it were.
Well,
he had these electrolysis
compete.
reactors down, these farms, and they're doing nothing.
He just can't compete now, can he? He's got to move out of any type of life support resource.
Oh yeah, and that does it. Wow. So these players, very, very high level. You can see there were no stock purchases actually on the board at this point. DT had sold out of the ones he had made. But DT is still identifying, I am so far behind 1 HQ level on even cash against an opponent with a patent lab that's already operating and half my buildings turned off. DT realizes he can't compete. He's going to give it up. That puts us at 1-1 in the series. Next win takes it in our best of 3.
Yep. well done, Fluffy Bunny.
So that's just a very kind of advanced sense of the game, sitting here being like, yeah, there's literally no way I can do this. Especially because DT, he was in a very large amount of debt. 161,000 debt. Next interest tick was going to knock him down to D, and I don't think he ever climbs out of that.
No, I don't. Not with water like that.
Yeah, not with water like that.
And he'd just be nuked from king to kingdom come, I'm pretty sure.
Hello everyone, and welcome to game number 3 in our best of 3 series between Fluffy Bunny, aka Blackmagic, and Deathtacticus. Well, there's a scientific location on this map.
It's a very nice scientific location.
And nothing else, really? I mean,
nothing. Scavenger,
so how much
maybe,
do you pay for it?
I 30k for that, I think.
I mean, if you're PB head, you spend 50. If you're Cubit, you spend 32.
Scientific colony founded.
DT is going to go for 40? 42. $42,000 of debt is what he has decided that tile is worth. That place is worth. He may be right. This is a really great location. So for our newer people, scientists like to found near water and iron. They like to have access to both because that gives them the iron, allows them steel production. DT says he found it wrong. That's fine. I mean, he can just do that when it's this good a location. It doesn't really matter. It gives them the solid steel production they need to upgrade, and then they can move into the lucrative life support resources very easily. Because, of course, scientists, they just pull the primary resources out directly out of the ground. You can see that this building, it says science is the amount of iron it's consuming right now, aka none. It doesn't produce iron, but it also isn't consuming any because it's on top of an iron tile.
Have we got random prices on?
We do, actually.
Robotic colony expanded.
Oxygen started at double its price. Otherwise, I would question it too. But oxygen and water both started double their price, so we're good.
Excellent. Oh, he's gone out for robot air.
Oh, and carbon and... well, yeah, silicon started at half. I'm not sure about carbon. Carbon didn't start at half, but silicon did. Anyway.
That's alright then, good.
Yeah, it just wasn't a whole lot. Random prices, of course, we covered earlier, but random prices, there's no real set value to how many resources change in price from random prices. Sometimes a lot, sometimes it's almost none. It keeps things random and interesting.
Market is online.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's difficult to get used to sometimes if you're used to normal prices.
Yes, it is. So this time, the neutral colony, by the way, we've been seeing a lot of warehouse neutral colonies, which are the Chinese colonies. This time, we've got a European colony. So it started with 3 laboratories, and then to be contrary, it just decided to build a warehouse anyway. So this is consuming quite a bit of chemicals and then a little bit of glass as well. So we're going to see extra pressure on those prices this game. We'll have to see how the players decide to deal with that.
An adrenaline boost there from Deathtacticus.
Yeah.
Quite a nice move.
Definitely. So adrenaline boost is something we haven't seen yet so far today. Adrenaline boost simply, I believe, doubles the production of a building, both the input and the output. But of course, when your input is 0, well, your output is just doubled, and that's very, very nice. Always nice to see scientific buildings get adrenaline boosted.
Yes, because it doesn't matter then, because they don't have to buy in any extra resources.
Exactly. Very, very nice move. Although DT, I mean, you can see what he's done to this steel price. It's $19. That's what happens when you kind of flood a resource.
Scientific colony expanded.
Which is interesting, and I mean, that's going to be nice for Blackmagic to see. He's only running on 2 steel mills, so this really low steel price is kind of a bit of a gift from Deathtacticus saying, alright, yeah, you can keep up this game, good luck.
Yeah, but it's not going to benefit him that much.
No,
because
it's not
he can't buy it in. He's got nothing. He's not making any money on anything to be able to snap up that steel.
Yeah, all he's really got is this aluminum and possibly some power. If we had seen him move more heavily into power, I would have liked to see that, I think. Now it might be a little too late. Already sitting on $12,000 of debt. It would take quite some time for him to be able to make money off of this power production.
Yeah, DT's debt is worrying me at $71,000.
Well, if he can just keep up in upgrades, that's going to be his trick, right? And I think this is a lot easier to pull off with adrenaline boosts, especially as a scientist. He's already out of his reactors. He's moving into farms instead. I believe he went for reactors for a moment, killed fuel, and then left. Which I think was a good idea given the price of power, because farms only take 0.1 power a second to operate. Reactors take 3 times that much. The same as a steel mill at 0.3. So now he's consuming less power, he's got a better resource, he still has adrenaline boosts. If he adrenaline boosts his food, he can easily buy up the glass he needs to keep upgrading. And as he keeps upgrading, his bond rating stays in check because the upgrade is worth so much of your stock value.
Yeah, it's definitely a good move to go into food. I mean, just look at the price.
Oh yeah. That's going to come down pretty quickly, to be fair, with a robot in play and then only a level 3 scientist and then just 4 habitats. That's all the pressure on food.
Yeah, and he's getting his geothermal plant up as well, so it's still, I don't know, it's been adjusted though, hasn't it, for 1v1. The debt ratios, the interest ticks aren't as bad as they used to be.
Yeah, it's a little bit better in 1v1 from what I understand. You can see he's actually not that far away. He's about halfway between bond ratings right now. If he can push that up, he'll be in a better spot, but I think this interest is going to hurt. Yeah,
it's 10%.
$10,000 almost.
Yeah, that's nothing though, really.
Yeah, it's not too bad. He'll be able to hold on. I think he'll be all right.
The black market is
I'd love to see him get some more power up though.
Ooh, adrenaline boost. We should check where that is very quickly. Well, that's one way to get more power. Adrenaline boost, the geotherm, of course. No input resource for a power building, just doubles its output. This is a very nice move. Instead of building multiple geotherms, you simply build one, put a goon squad on it, and then adrenaline boost it. And if your opponent tries to knock it down with dynamite, knock it out with a power surge, they can't. And you're very, very well defended on a very valuable building. You can see he's already pushed his rating back up to A. And he's in fact paying off about 350 debt a second on the back of this adrenaline boosted geotherm.
Yeah, they've definitely adjusted the ratings there massively, which is, I think, is a good thing, because before it was so easy to get into trouble.
Absolutely it was. Well, Deathtacticus, he's going to try and make some money. Not Deathtacus, blackmagic. I really hate this fluffy bunny nonsense. He's trying to make some money on power. Oh, got to H-Cube 3, but man, he is way behind.
He's struggling, isn't he?
He's got
Not
2
sure.
geotherms up. And that actually explains a lot of what happened this game. So here's why I love Deathtacticus' move and why I don't like Fluffy Bunny, aka Blackmagic's moves. So, Fluffy Bunny, he commits to 2 geothermal plants. As we discussed during the last game, geothermal plants are extremely expensive buildings. 120 steel, 40 aluminum for that building. Ridiculously expensive. So this is 240 steel and 80 aluminum worth of resources. 320 resources. That's more steel. That is more steel than an upgrade from 2 to 3. The same amount of steel as an upgrade from 3 to 4. That's how far behind he is in steel. And he hasn't made a single dollar off of these buildings this game.
Yeah, Deathtacticus has gone into a second geothermal, which I'd cancel that. I would definitely cancel that. Take the claim back. Can do far better with that claim. Maybe get into some kind of glass or something, or some silicon. Yeah, take that high silicon over there.
This is going to finish. It's going to make me sad.
Yep.
Pro tip for new players. Don't build a building that costs 160 resources when it's going to be giving you $14 a second in debt payment. Just,
yeah. Waste of time. Waste of resources.
Yeah.
Got another adrenaline boost coming down for somebody.
Yep, there it is. DT again boosting out his steel. An interesting decision. Steel not very valuable, but almost nothing is super valuable of the easy to access resources right now that he has available to him. Alright, power surge. This would be a good time to point out that the power surge does not last as long against the scientist. You can see these buildings are only frozen for about 30 more seconds apiece on average. And that's because the scientist is defended against the power surge and EMP tools. They only get hit half as hard by them. Only frozen for half the length of time.
Which, if you couple that with thinking machines, that can be a very, very powerful end game strategy.
Thinking machines reducing that half by half, only frozen for 1/4 of the time. It's pretty ridiculous.
So long as the tile is adjacent to your HQ.
That is the restriction.
Has he moved into there? He's gone into 2
Taking
water
water.
pumps.
I like it. Water's a good move. This has actually, I think, been a huge mistake out of blackmagic, is not taking just the simple solar condensers. This one solar condenser without adjacency is making him $100 a second right now. He could have potentially benefited a lot from this water and not given any of that income to Deathtacticus.
Underground nuclear explosion device.
This is bad to see for blackmagic.
Because it doesn't matter for the scientific, you could nuke them all day long and it's not going to make any difference really at all.
Absolutely. For a scientific who's using resources in the way that Deathtacticus is, by pulling them straight out of the ground, a trace tile, the lowest a tile can be, is exactly the same as a high tile. You get no benefit or disadvantage from either of those if you have like a farm on a trace or high water tile.
Yeah.
Always the same thing.
So if you're scientific and you build your building on a resource, it automatically uses that resource. You don't need to claim any other resources.
Absolutely. Ooh, patent lab coming up for DT. I like to see this. It'll get done before too long. Just a little start of it right now. We're just going to watch this animation because we haven't done this much. But scientists, another one of their benefits is they research patents in half the time it takes other people. Aw, that made me sad. I was watching that.
Did he actually finish the construction of it?
He did not. Dynamite just lands before that's even finished. Which...
I noticed in your stream that somebody blew up your Offworld market immediately.
Absolutely, you can do that.
But there was a debate in the chat. Do you have to repair a building that's not technically built?
Indeed you do.
And then you finish constructing it?
Yes.
You repair it, then you build it.
Well, I think you might just repair it. I'm not actually sure. I think it's just a repair. I don't think it's you actually have to build it again after you've repaired it. I think it's just the repair time. I think it's generally much better for a dynamite to wait until a building is finished, unless you are worried that your opponent is going to goon squad that building. I think that's always the right call 100% of the time.
Yeah. Anything that makes your opponent spend money is a good thing.
Exactly. Well, spend money and spend time, because this patent lab was only about half done when it got blown up. Instead of having to build the patent lab twice in terms of time, he only had to build it 1.5 times. Now, to be fair, a goon squad is now on it. So it might have been the right call to blow it up early before that goon squad could get placed. That way it got hit at all. Just something to consider.
But then sometimes maybe you want to blow that goon squad off and make your opponent buy another more expensive goon squad. It's all situational, I think.
Underground nuke onto the elemental quarry. That is going to be an effectively useless trace level silicon tile. $115 for silicon, but only pulling in 1/4 of it per second now. That's painful.
Yep, that's killed silicon for him.
Ooh, wow, that's interesting. Instead of upgrading, blackmagic is choosing to just get aggressive in stock. He says, I'm going to make you... I don't think he actually thinks he can kill here. But what he does is he forces Deathtacticus to go ahead and commit money into his own stock. So instead of being able to develop extra tools like an off-world market, instead of taking more patents, you can see he's not doing that right now, he's kind of forced to commit money into his stock. And he has to be prepared just in case Fluffy Bunny pulls the money together to kill him.
Which is looking slightly unlikely at the moment.
Yes, slightly. If slightly is equal to very, then yes, it's looking unlikely.
The best tile he's got is his iron mine.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's going to have this carbon. Well, that's DT that's going to have that coming in soon. Yeah, I am very concerned. Oh no, there's plenty of carbon quarries down here. These are solid for the moment.
And he's boosted them as well.
He has boosted them. Power surge available to shut these down, though, and I imagine that's going to be happening in about 2 seconds here.
Yeah, pirates.
That'll work too. I don't like it as much as the power surge, though, actually.
Yeah, power surge would have been preferable, I think.
Pirates, what those will do is they will steal 100, but as you can see, what happens is pirates have an internal cooldown, so like there's a flood of carbon coming through here, and pirates are only occasionally triggering. And then when the pirate triggers, you can see this truck is half empty. The pirate stole half the carbon on this truck and gave it to Deathtacticus instead of it going over to Fluffy Bunny. But as you can see, a lot of these trucks are getting through unscathed because of this internal cooldown for the pirates.
Yeah, Carbon's dead though now.
Yeah, Carbon is dead now. That's the other reason I didn't like the pirates. How much did those steal? Maybe like 50?
Did they even pay? Well, they probably paid for the cost.
They probably paid for the cost. I think that's fine, but I don't think it was actually the right decision.
Power surge would have been better.
I wonder if I want to see it off-world.
Yeah.
There it is. There's the off-world. All right, so Fluffy Bunny just says all this carbon money, I'm going to commit it to an off-world. I just want this building online now. And I like this decision with the journalist.
He's cancelled it. He's
Did
just
he?
cancelled it, yeah.
What's he going to do with it? Is he going to upgrade instead? Is he going to give up? I mean, he does that sometimes. Oh, it's come back. He says, never mind. I actually want this Offworld.
No, he doesn't want it. Fair enough. Well, probably wants to put a goon squad on it. Or maybe...
Goon Squad? Hologram? Something like that, you know.
What's going on with holograms? Ah, there's a...
DT has one. It's on his Offworld market, so we haven't talked about hologram much. So we'll cover this very quickly. You can see that we're on DT's view right now. You can see the Offworld market, and you can see this blue dome on it. That indicates that it's hologrammed. And it's hologrammed to look like a farm. So if we switch over to Fluffy Bunny's view, what he sees here is a farm being built. And for him, this should actually appear as finished at this point, this farm. Oh, wow. Deathtacticus just reveals the hologram, though. So you can see what happened. This is actually great. You can see that Deathtacticus, he switched over to having glass kilns near this hologram. So the hologram switched to looking like a glass kiln instead of looking like a farm.
Yeah, hopefully Fluffy Bunny will be keeping a close eye on that Offworld. Well, it's showing. Is it an Offworld market?
It is an Offworld market.
It is. And of course, he's got his spy down, but his spy is just out of range of it.
Yeah, you can see that right here. This circle indicates that a spy is watching this area. So Fluffy Bunny knows about this goon squad on this patent lab, and he knows that all of these buildings are as they appear, but he doesn't know about the actual hologram. Which you can see, this Offworld market is now finished and launching food for a profit of $46,000 a launch. Cancelled it. Yeah, that's the right move right here, I think. This is a good decision. So Fluffy Bunny, he's just trying to finish this game before DT gets a launch off and can defend himself easily. Fluffy Bunny, instead of building that Offworld, instead of upgrading, he's just committing all of his cash into stock, trying to kill off DT before he can defend himself. I don't think it's going to work, but I think it's the right play when you're this far behind.
It's going to be close.
Well, what you do is DT here, in order to secure yourself, you just kind of wait until you've got enough cash plus resources. You cancel the launch, get that 100 food back, then you sell that down and commit that to buying up that last bit of stock that you need.
He is probably going to get that
He's going to be
off.
fine. He's going to be fine.
Yeah.
He's going to get the launch off, and he's going to be able to defend himself. Fluffy Bunny just doesn't quite have the income to actually clean this up. You can see he's not making very much money. Like, these steel mills are just operating at a loss right now, making basically nothing. Fluffy Bunny now has to sell out. It was a really good effort to push on through. He may try and transition from here, but he is very, very far behind at this point. This was an example of him just pushing to try and finish his opponent instead of playing out the game cleanly, and now he gets punished for it.
Yeah. It's going to be very hard for him to come back.
Absolutely. Well, the adrenaline boost is a good start.
But he hasn't... Has he boosted the construction?
Yes.
He has. At one point, I thought you couldn't boost construction of it. You could only boost the actual building.
You can still boost construction, but remember, the one thing to remember about the Offworld is adrenaline boosts. We talked about those being double value before. For Offworld markets, they're only a 50% increase in speed instead of a 100% increase, because frankly, a 100% increase was stupid.
It was slightly overpowered.
Slightly, massively overpowered, for sure.
It was good fun, though.
It was. That was. That launch triggers, though, massive profits on that launch for Deathtacticus. Made $59,000, then immediately bought, like $26,000 more worth of food, so only made 30 really, but nobody wants it. Nobody wants the core sample. I can understand that.
Well, really, only Fluffy Bunny could utilize it because Deathtacticus is out of claims, so he could...
Well, Deathtacticus could have used it on, like, this couple of these empty tiles he have. He would have been likely to uncover... I guess this one would have been likely to uncover iron, maybe water on a couple of these. There's a nice mix there.
Yeah.
Water especially is what he probably would have found, I think.
He'd want water, but he'd get iron.
Well, fair enough. I mean, iron's not bad right now, let's be honest.
It's looking pretty tasty.
I mean, he's got steel mills building. I actually wonder if that's the right decision, because iron's up at $100 a piece and only going up. These could be iron mines instead, collecting a lot of cash.
The high iron is going to give you $330 a second. It's insane.
Okay, so Fluffy Bunny, he is not in a good way at all. He does
struggling.
have one edge left. And that's the fact that he does not have a large amount of debt, only 27,000. That's really not very much for anybody who's new. It's not a lot of debt. And his opponent has 195,000. Just got hit by a massive interest tick. And on top of that, Fluffy Bunny has financial instruments, which is a patent we haven't talked about yet today. You receive a 25% cut from rivals' debt interest. So debt ticked for about 32,000 for Deathtacticus. And that made Fluffy Bunny immediately $8,000 in cash. Very, very nice for him.
Yeah, not so great 1v1, but on larger maps, more people,
Trying to break our stuff.
very worth taking. So he's in D. As soon as you get into D levels of debt, or D bond rating, you have no access to the black market.
Absolutely. And that's going to be super dangerous because it looks like Fluffy Bunny found the Offworld. He went for that power surge, found the Goon Squad.
Deathtacticus has got thinking machines, which will help him out.
It'll
slightly.
buffer him against that dynamite, but that dynamite, it's still dynamite.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
it-
half
and it's-
repair time, half cost, but still very expensive.
It's cheap. Dynamite's cheap.
It is super cheap. The Goon Squad is back in place. Goon Squads have actually stayed relatively cheap as well. And Deathtacticus, as long as he can stay in C, I think he's still going to manage to close out this game, because we should pay attention to the fact that Deathtacticus has a massive amount of his own stock and his opponent's stock. Each stock that Deathtacticus owns in himself, Fluffy Bunny has to pay double price for. Now, the same is true of Deathtacticus buying Fluffy Bunny's price, but Fluffy Bunny, he only has one little bit of stock left before the full buyout purchase has to happen from Deathtacticus, whereas Deathtacticus, he has 4 stock and then the additional 5 block still ready to go. So Fluffy Bunny's still at a pretty massive stock disadvantage, but cash is evened up here. Only off by about 30.
Yeah. Cash is equal, but Deathtacticus has the massive stock advantage.
It's that massive stock advantage that I think will play in here. But the debt hurting Deathtacticus in his stock price. I mean, Fluffy Bunny, I think in some ways what he wants to do is just drag this out as long as he can. Just stay alive as long as he can. Keep letting those interest ticks come in. That makes him more money. Hurts his opponent's stock price even more and more and more. You can see Deathtacticus, he just committed a lot of cash to paying down debt, and still 13,000 interest tick there.
It's still gotta hurt.
Yeah. I mean, that's all of Fluffy Bunny's debt. Just, bam, gained it instantly. Not fun.
Somebody playing with water there.
I mean, Deathtacticus, he's holding on to about 150. So a little bit, but not too much, really.
Somebody just killed water.
Yeah, water's been flying up and down. These guys are really trying to do a number on each other.
Yeah, any little advantage.
Exactly. This is when you just hunt for any little edge. So Deathtacticus especially, he'll be looking to play with water if he sees his opponent has a lot of farms, a lot of reactors down. He'll want to drive up that water price, make that water expensive so that the farms are less valuable and the electrolysis is less valuable. All kinds of little moves like that you can do that add up very, very quickly. Now, one big problem is Fluffy Bunny, okay, he found it, he switched it. These players got to be careful when auto-launching a resource on the off-world market. A lot of players do this. They just set up a launch and set it up to launch permanently, but then a price gets out of control. So Fluffy Bunny, he was launching oxygen for a while. But when we looked at the off-world market, oxygen's very, very expensive on-world. So it's not a good profit off-world. 360 to 630. Food is much better, 180 to 680, so Fluffy Bunny had to switch his launches over that direction. Now, all this, as we've been talking, Deathtacticus is making a ridiculous amount of money, and it looks like he is going to be ready to just about finish up the game.
Well, he's got his off-world nailed there. Is he? He's not going
to repair it. He's not going to repair it. This is Deathtacticus we're talking about. Strong player.
No, he's going to leave it well alone. He's got enough. He can make enough on worlds, and Fluffy Bunny quits.
And Fluffy Bunny throws the GG. We don't quite get to see the purchase. Deathtacticus, though, we can see in his cash plus resources, he had $445,000. He needed 431 to clean up this game. Basically, you always need, by this last 5 block, in a 1v1 situation, you always just need basically 10 times the stock price to finish up the game. And he had that, so Fluffy Bunny, he's going to call the GG. That was a hard-fought game.
It was. Very hard fought. It was closer than I thought it was going to be. Fluffy Bunny came back rather well. It's a
He
shame
did
it
come
just-
back pretty well.
Just in the mid-game, I think if he could have tightened up on the mid-game, if it had gone slightly more his way, if he could have made a little bit more profit, then it would have been a very close end to the match. I think it could have gone either way.
I don't know if it was even the mid game though that killed him. It felt like he just stumbled off the block.
I think DT killed steel, and if you're a robot, you need a high steel price to really sort of excel.
I suppose, but water started off at double price, and with solar condensers available. I think that there were things that could have been done to resolve that situation. Also, when your opponent goes for both steel and reactors, as long as power doesn't start down in the depths at like 20, I think you can actually commit pretty heavy to power and make some decent money on that initially, if you need to. I think if we'd seen like 2 panels instead of 1 panel, maybe a couple of condensers. You have to have a little steel, but he did get to HQ2. I think there were some small things that could have been done differently. Fluffy Bunny pushes to 3 much faster, and if he gets to 3, like even 1-2 minutes before he did, I think he actually just cleans this game up very, very easily, based on how the two of them were playing after that.
Definitely. I would have very much liked to see Blackmagic Fluffy Bunny take that second water, the medium, next to the high water that he had. I think if he'd have got that, he'd have had about 5 water a second coming in, which would have smoothed things over for him. It would have meant that he didn't have to mess around going into ice condensers and swapping everything over as the water price fluctuated, because that's what really put him behind, was the fact he had to chop and change his claims every few minutes.
Yeah, that was very difficult. Always a nice advantage for a scientist, just kind of, you drop your buildings down and they're pretty much just there for a long time.
I say, you don't need to worry about, and you don't need to worry about shipping fuel and bits and pieces in. Any resources. And of course, killing that silicon, that was another good move. That meant that it was very difficult for Blackmagic to move into, say, electronics or glass.
Absolutely. That made things difficult. I mean, it also gave Deathtacticus control of that market effectively, since he did have 1 high silicon tile.
Did he ever build any glass? I don't remember seeing any kilns.
Know if they did. Did they build glass this game?
I don't think they did. He's got 1 electronics factory down the bottom there.
I think maybe Fluffy Bunny had it for a while. Yeah, Fluffy Bunny built glass. Produced it for a while. Looks like DT, he sold glass. Or no, he bought glass and sold glass for a while. Maybe, yeah, both of them did have glass for a while, because I remember that transition from the hologram into glass. But there wasn't a whole lot of glass production in that game. It was just very valuable when it was down.
Yeah. You see, water, biggest money sink, water.
Yeah. It's problematic. Even for a robot. Water's important.
Yeah. So if you want to build any kind of life supports, you've got to have the water to back you up.